welcome fight fans. How y'all doing? Happy fucking Tuesday. And wow, what an amazing weekend it was for fighting. Let me tell you guys. We had MMA, we had boxing, and let me tell you, there was a lot of exciting fights to be had all around. I mean, everything from that fucking the Atua fight versus even the Triple G fight had some good action. Like everything was good. The main card for the UFC 238, I believe, was hype as fuck. That fight between Henry Cejudo versus Morales was crazy, just crazy. But we'll get into that a little bit more. I think we're going to start off with talking a little bit about the, I guess, the lesser popular of the two sports, a little bit of boxing. I have to say, one thing that I've noticed in the fight game recently is just all these Kazakhstanian fighters. It is amazing the talent and how tough these dudes are. These dudes are tough. Some of the strongest boys are coming out of Kazakhstan right now, right? I mean, some of the top level fighters in the UFC game right now, right? I mean, it's proving to be a breeding ground for top level fighters, right? I forget. I can't say the name because I butcher it, but that tall, lanky dude from Kazakhstan, right? That fights with Khabib, right? Those dudes are good, right? And they're not only showing that they can wrestle and keep fights to the ground. They're showing that they can strike as well, right? And some of these, some of the fighters that we're going to be talking about in this next little bit here are from Kazakhstan. And we'll break down some of their fights. All right, so on the Danzin, which, by the way, guys, if you guys aren't watching Danzin yet, or you guys haven't hooked up with Danzin, it is an amazing sports provider. For $20 a month, you get so many fights, you get so many sports. It's worth checking out. I'd recommend looking into it. Even though I'm not sponsored by the show or by them or anything, I would highly recommend it. It is pretty much like the Netflix of sports, right? You're not going to get a cheaper cable package for what they're giving you. And I know everyone's big on the UFC, but y'all shouldn't be sleeping on... y'all definitely can't be sleeping on... you definitely can't be sleeping on the Bellator. Bellator is starting to step up their game, and they're getting better and better. All right, with that being said, we're going to jump into some boxing here. The first fight of the night that I had ended up watching was Marcus McDaniels versus Ali Akhmedov. Now, Ali Akhmedov is one of those Kazakhstanian fighters, and he looked great coming into this fight, And the one thing that I noticed right away in this fight was the fact that Akhmedov was the much taller fighter. These guys were fighting in the super middleweight weight division, and McDaniels, I'm telling you, was probably like a 5'9" fighter fighting against a guy who was like 6'2", 6'3", right? I think McDaniels really struggled with the length that Akhmedov had presented him. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, he had to fight on the inside, and it just really didn't work out too well for McDaniels. I mean, the first round was kind of a feeling out process, but the dude's just too big at 5'9". I mean, like, muscular-wise, McDaniels needs to, I think, if he wants to continue on in his fighting career, he needs to become smaller, physically smaller, right? He's just too big to be up there fighting with guys that have just got length, right? Because you know, if you got a guy that is a good boxer, and you know, Ali is an amazing boxer. He's got all the talents. He's got good ring generalship, right? He commands the center of that ring, and you know, he's your typical Kazakhstan fighter. You know, he just keeps the pressure on, keeps the pressure on. He's always charging. He's always coming forward, right? You know, and you can definitely tell McDaniels was the not that he was outboxed, but I think I would say the reach became a factor in that fight, something that he was unable to deal with. And in the 30, he got dropped, unfortunately, and was unable to recover, right? Both these guys had were undefeated records at the start, but you know, Ali walked away with that win. And I'm excited to see who Ali is going to fight next. I think he's going to be on a fast track for some title shots within the next 2 years, I would say. All right, so next we've got another boxing fight here. Another both undefeated fighters. This time it is Bryan Cavallo, New York, Brooklyn fighter versus another Kazakhstan fighter. I'm sorry I keep looking down here, but these Kazakhstani names really give me trouble, and I'm sorry if I butcher these. I apologize to all the fighters in advance. I'm sorry for my ignorance. Bayaktav Iboyov. That was a mouthful. Words are hard. That was a mouthful. Anyways, Boyov was a well, he didn't come in looking like your typical condition fighter. He was your very, very thick, very aggressive, which is, you know, another sign of your typical Kazakhstanian fighters. And it's just weird because this guy just did not want to work behind a jab. Just does not want to learn a jab. Even when the announcers were talking about him in between rounds, they were saying that like his corner man just doesn't want to bother teaching him the jab because it's just not in his game. So this guy just comes in like Tyson. You know, he's definitely ain't got the skills of like a Tyson or a Joe Frazier or anything like that, but he just comes in like a pit bull and he just swings for the fences. It's kind of impressive to see. The dude is tough as fuck, but you know, unfortunately with a style like that, if you don't fucking KO the guy, you're probably going to end up losing on the scorecards. And that's exactly what happened, right? He came in against a fighter who was a taller fighter for one. He Bryan was definitely at a couple inches on him. He definitely had the length on him, and Bryan was showing that he could just outbox him. There was a great analogy used during the fight where pretty much Bryan Cavallo is like the matador, right? He is waiting for the charging bull to come, and then he just picks him apart with shots and then moves out of the way, right? Bryan wasn't waiting for him to come at him because he was constantly charging, right? So he just kind of like stood his ground, stepped to the side, and just landed shots, right? For the most part, I mean, I had Caleb winning that fight pretty much the whole thing. At least 7 rounds. Seven rounds to 1. I had that scored. So, I mean, unfortunately, Boyakov, for all his aggression and everything, he really needs to start using that whole game plan. You know, like toughness can take you so far in this game, but you need some smarts, right? You know, unfortunately, as much as we like to think that fighting is all physical, it's also a mental game. You know, and what I remember mostly is Bryan Cavallo just looks great. Can't wait to see him in another fight. He is a very strong individual. He oh, we've got some issues here. I'm not sure why my webcam just stopped and took a shit there, but unfortunately, we might have to re-record some of that section. But yeah, I mean, Bryan was just an amazing fighter. He has got all the skills in the world, all the tools in the world. I think he has got a I think he's got a secured future in this. I'm sure we'll be seeing him fight some tougher competition, and within maybe 2 3 years, we're gonna see him step up. He's a young fighter. He's only the age of 24, so he's got a lot of time to develop them skills, right? I guess there were some questions on Bryan coming into this fight about his chin. It looked like his chin was able to stand up to the Boyakov's shots. So, ready to see him fight some stiffer competition. Looking forward to that. All right. So next on the fight, we also had Charles Conwell versus Courtney Pennington, and let me tell you, this scrap turned out a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. At first, it looked like Conwell, for at least the first, I'd say 6 rounds, was just outworking, outclassing Pennington. Pennington looked to be lost in there. He Pennington didn't have control of the ring. He was fighting on the ropes for the first 6 rounds. Conwell just seemed to have the confidence. He also had the ring generalship, right? Like, I can't talk about enough about owning the center of that ring. When you're able to move and stalk your prey, you're in a lot. I think you're in a better advantage. There's a lot of good counter fighters out there, but you have to be an excellent counter fighter to be kind of playing that game. It's a very dangerous game, right? Like most fighters, they need to be the confident one that is, you know what I mean, in command, right? You look at a guy like Canelo Alvarez, and what makes him great is just that ring generalship, his movement, right? He's so good. Look at a guy like Lomachenko. Look, Lomachenko's footwork is the best in boxing, in my opinion. Like, the way that guy moves it's so phenomenal, right? Makes you think about all that that Ukrainian dance that he took, right? Anyways, as this fight got further and further, Pennington started to come around in the sixth, right? He seemed to have found his jab. He seemed to have found length with the jab, and then this fight started to turn around, right? So unfortunately, though, it was just so late in the scorecards, and it was only a 10-round fight. Had this gone the distance to 12, it would have been something else to see. But this was more so a learning experience for Conwell. I mean, if Conwell was able to get the KO of Pennington, it definitely would have raised his stock up exponentially. Conwell was the favorite to win this fight. But again, he didn't have the most impressive showing, right? He showed that for the first 6 rounds, he's got a great gas tank, but it's starting to prove that his conditioning is something that he needs to work on. When he gets into the late rounds, he starts to struggle and gas out, right? So as he gets going higher into his professional career, he's going to have to fix some of these issues out, because he can get himself into some trouble with that, right? A lot of these boxers, I think, are so huge that they don't got the fucking conditioning down, right? So if they're not fucking KOing people in the first 6 rounds, they are in trouble after that, right? I believe that had this fight gone to 12 rounds, that Conwell would have probably lost, and probably would have met the canvas once or twice. But that's my own opinion, and fact means that Conwell won, right? So unfortunately for Pennington, he needs to come out next time and start working behind that jab. In boxing, if nothing else is working, you gotta throw that jab out there, especially when you've got a guy that is coming and charging at you and has got that ring generalship, right? You have got to throw that jab and move, jab and move, jab and move, right? You got to aggravate charging fighter, right? You got to slow him down some way, right? And just looking to counter and throw some haymakers just is not going to do it, unfortunately. Ooh, next we had Roberto Gonzalez versus Israel Midramov. Now, let me tell you guys, Midrimov is a beast. I forget where Midrimov is from, but don't sleep on this dude. This dude is on the super fast track. He's the next star in boxing by far. He had one of the most vicious knockouts the fight prior to this, where like he KO'd a guy and they had to carry him off on a stretcher. It was devastating. The power that this guy packs is amazing. He's even having problems finding sparring partners to come in and spar with him because he just everything he hits with is just fucking dynamite, you know? And the funny thing is Midrimov in that last knockout, he was like, I wasn't trying to knock him out. I didn't put my full power behind that shot. I just hit him clean, and that was it, right? And that's exactly what you want to do when you're throwing, when you're fighting. You want to throw everything behind that shot, right? Because you're just gonna gas yourself out. You just want to throw a well placed, clean shot to connect, right? That way you don't gas yourself out. And Midrimov is just scary talent. But Midrimov was in deep. He was tested with Roberto Gonzalez. Gonzalez is a veteran fighter. He's 34, 35 years old. Lots of fights. He had never been knocked down in his career, right? Not that he had supported a great record or anything like that. I think it was like 24-12, right? So he's a fighter that goes the distance, but you know, nonetheless, these fighters are great to have within the division because they are a test for the upcoming young stars, right? To see exactly where their skills are at. You know what I mean? These guys are not slouches by no regards, but by no regards are they meant to be giving guys like Miramov a threat. I would say. You know what I mean? What can I say? Also, an interesting thing is Roberto Gonzalez accepted this fight in 9 days after coming off of a fight in Mexico. So there was a little bit of traveling and I think a little bit of tiredness that Gonzalez had to deal with. But give the man all the credit in the world. He stood in there, and not that he was dominant, but he definitely made the kid work for it, right? Midrimov wasn't able to just dominate like I've seen him do in the past, right? So he actually had to kind of like work for his KO, and he actually dropped Gonzalez for the first time in Gonzalez's career. So Miramov is definitely going to be on the fast track. I can't wait to see who he's going to be fighting next. Yeah, I mean, like the kid's 24 years old, so. I mean, he's got a very, very bright future ahead of him, and one to watch out for. Don't sleep on this kid, folks. All right, and now for the main event in the boxing card. Y'all know who it is. Triple G versus Steven Rawls. Canada's own Steven Rawls getting an opportunity of a lifetime to fight some fucking top 5 opponents in the middleweight division, right? So he gets his first crack, and let me tell you, this fight started off Triple G. Triple G looked really good, and then the next 2 rounds went to Rawls. Rawls came back and was landing with like a nice straight. He was working to the body. He landed some nice shots on Triple G, but in the 4th, Triple G started to turn that around. He started attacking in the body, and it seemed like he woke up a little bit, and in the 4th, he ended up KOing Rawls. He ended up coming in and with this nasty over top looping hook, caught him on the top of the fucking head, dazed him. Right, Rawls went back to the fucking ropes. And Triple G just started to unload, pick him apart, took his time, you know what I mean? Showed why he's such a dangerous fighter, and landed a straight, I think it was a straight, a straight, just a straight coming in, and then over top, KO'd him. It was really good. Really, really good fight. I guess Triple G's definitely pleased that he's moved over with a new trainer. He's got that Jonathan Banks with him, right? It seemed like things went exactly to plan, right? So he's got to be happy with that. It's unfortunate for Rawls, would definitely like to see a Canadian do well, but unfortunately, when you're in the ring with competition like that, he just unfortunately got outclassed. But who knows? Hopefully, Stevie Rawls will be able to bounce back and get set up for that. Get set to make some more progress, right? Hopefully that this isn't going to be, a major setback for the young fella's career as well. So that's the shitty thing with the fight game too, right? Sometimes you lose a fight, right? And depending on especially when you get knocked out, and a vicious knockout like Rawls was, because Rawls was knocked out before he hit the fucking ground, right? Fucking his face hit the canvas. That's how fucking mangled he was. And, well, not that he was mangled. He was just he just got hit with such a clean shot that fucking was going straight down, right? So, unfortunate for him, but like I said, we'll see if he's able to bounce back, and we'll be able to see if he, what kind of career he makes out of it. Like I said, he didn't look out of his own in the ring with Triple G. Triple G, from what I noticed, he's starting to look on the older side. His body is looking like old man body, right? So I don't know if he needs to work on the conditioning a little bit, right? But that shit gets harder the older you get, unfortunately. But you never know. So he's bidding up to make another fight with Canelo Alvarez. So I don't know if this definitely set him up to do that. But I think maybe he's got one more fight, and really impressive in that fight. Then he's got to be back in the mix to go after Canelo Alvarez's titles, right? But we'll see. You never know how these things work in boxing. Unfortunately, with boxing, not only boxing. Unfortunately, in the fight game, there is a lot more politics involved than there really should be, right? You never know how these things shake out, but hopefully we'll see them in the ring soon, right? Because I mean, let's be honest, the only thing that makes makes combat sports exciting is having top level combatants fight each other on a regular basis, right? But maybe the heavyweight division could learn a little bit from that, But now that Anthony Joshua is kind of out of the mix, we'll see. And how about that? That was some crazy shit, that Joshua fucking Ruiz fight. Ooh-wee! Let me tell you, Ruiz just with them hands, I'm going to be honest, it's not looking good for Joshua on that redefense, right? Joshua's definitely going to have to work on his conditioning, and Joshua's definitely going to have to work out on his chin. For as massive of a man as he is, he's got a glass chin, and it's starting to show, right? So, all right, guys. So now we're going to switch it up here. We're going to move from boxing, and we're going to start talking some MMA. We're going to get into UFC 238. What a hype card it was! I mean, from start to finish, it was just pure entertainment. Mega card. Really looking forward to seeing a lot of these fighters. I would like to even see some of these fights over again. And the one fight that I would like to see done over again, because it was so entertaining, was Balgoya versus Tua. Balgoya versus Tua. Oh my god, what an amazing fight to start the night off. I mean, you got these two massive fucking heavyweights that throw fucking bombs, folks. I mean, just haymakers. And these dudes are both fucking tough as fucking nails. Need fucking further proof of that? Fucking look up Bulgoyov history, and you'll find that he ended up getting stabbed close to his heart. And when he was in the hospital and he kind of came to, the first thing he asked was, will I be able to fight again? And that's all he wanted to know, right? The dude is a fucking champ, a beast. Not a champ yet, but we'll see one day, right? Definitely these guys need to polish up their skills a little bit, but let me tell you, the way they fucking stood at the center of that ring, and were just throwing major shots at one another. It looked like there was gonna be fucking, you know what I mean? It looked like one of those guys was gonna leave on a stretcher. That's for sure. Let me tell you. But like, both these guys proved that they both can take a fucking shot. They both can fucking land shot. And for as big as they are, they're in pretty good fucking condition. I was all in all impressed. Right? Tia looked to be the bigger fighter. Right? But he was landing a lot of nice short elbows on Bogoyov early, right? And I don't know, it must have like woken up Bogoyov because he hurt Tua a few times with a couple of straights coming in, slowing Tua down, right? But for the most part, like what I remember from this fight is these guys were just standing at the center of the ring, right? And just throwing mad shots, and then kind of like when Bogoyov started to get a little bit tired out, he did the intelligent thing, and he would wrap up Tua, and he would take him to the cage, and he was able to get him to a headlock and kind of like rip him down to the ground, scoring some points for the takedown, right? So you know, it was interesting. Like I says, these guys for the most part had like a big, huge gas tank. I mean, Tua definitely probably needs to work on the conditioning just a little bit. You know what I mean? So he doesn't gas out so early. I feel that that's kind of what hurt him a little bit in this fight. But like I says, all in all, fucking these dudes were just impressive. Just landing so many big shots. But also, Bogoya was also needs to add. Actually, Bogoya was using a nice inside leg kick, right? And that's something Tua needs to implement into as well, right? You know, you once you start beating up the legs, the hands drop, and you're more susceptible to getting KO'd, right? But you know, a very, very hard fight, spirited tilt. It definitely had to be a hard fight for the judges to call, because I mean, like Tua had Bogoyov in trouble, Bogoyov had Tua in trouble. Like I says, you guys hadn't seen this fight, this is the fight to watch. I mean, so much excitement, so fun. It was on the edge of your seat the whole time. It was just amazing. I can't speak enough on these two fighters. Can't wait to see individuals back in the ring. For me also, I don't give a fuck about records. I want to see entertaining fights. You know what I mean? So if guys want to go out there and they get an L, but they fucking throw it all on the line and it was an entertaining fight, I still want to see that loser fight again. I don't give a fuck, right? But that's my opinion. Okay, so after the Bogoyov and Tua fight, we had the next match between Jaime Rivera and Peter Yan. Rivera was looking to get back into his winning ways to try and make another bid for that bantamweight title shot. Unfortunately, Peter Yan had different notions himself about allowing him to do that. He ended up winning a decision, and he looked to be the dominant fighter, right? Rivera, for the most part, looked to control most of those rounds, but like for whatever reason, seemed like in the end, Yan was able to like drop him and kind of like stun him, and you know, Rivera got lucky twice in like rounds 1 and 2 from like bouncing back, right? You know, if those I believe that like if it was like another 10 seconds in each of those rounds, he would have been done for. He looked like he was in trouble. Peter Yan has got or Petra Yan. Yan. I'm just gonna call him Yan. I'm fucking terrible. Yan just looked to be the stronger of the fighter. He had good ring generalship. Rivera, you know, looked gassed too, right? After that first round was gassed. The second round was definitely gassed, but after, you know, taking shots like that at the end of the round is definitely going to slow you down, right? what is it? After Jan also looked to be well, is starting to show that he is like an intelligent fighter, right? You know, one thing that I recognized was that after Jan had him in trouble after round one, he wasn't in a rush to come out in round two and push that pace, right? He was start kind of like taking him apart, picking him apart. Fortunately, he started to kind of like lose the second round, but towards the end of that round, he ended up knocking Rivera again, right? Jan had some nice kicks to the body. Jan was working fucking elevations early on in the fight. It was really good. Rivera landed a couple nice shots too. This was a spirited tilt, but unfortunately, Jaime, for whatever reason, just did not finish those rounds out strong. And you know, when it goes to the judges' scorecards, right? Judges really don't. Judges really don't remember the first like 2 minutes of the fight. They remember the last 30 seconds of the round, unfortunately. You know, and that's what always leaves an impression in the judge's mind, right? And that's what really hurt Rivera tonight. You know, Rivera's a good fighter and all, but he's starting to age, right? So if he's looking to make a comeback, he's going to have to figure out something. Either he's going to have to drop down a weight class because he's having gassing issues, or he's really going to have to start working on these conditioning issues, trying and work on some boxing skills, right? Because I feel that like he was gassed out in the late in the rounds, and that's kind of what got him in trouble. He had a very high work rate coming into you know what I mean, like during those rounds, right? So you wonder if that high work rate ended up kind of like you know, gassing him out. So you know, his game plan needs to get changed up a little bit, but I'm sure we'll see him back in the ring. Looking forward to seeing both these fighters again. Can't wait to see who they line up for Jan next. Jan's still a very young kid, right? So he's got lots of time before he's going to get himself a title shot. Oh yes, and at one point, Rivera had taken a nasty shot from Jan. Jan had like KO'd the fucking gum shield out of Rivera's mouth, right? So that was something that I also remembered. And you know, nothing to be taken away from Rivera. Rivera's a very tough fucking dude, you know. Just really wasn't his night, unfortunately. I think he even landed more strikes. You know, he just didn't have the knockdowns. Lost because of that, and you know, and wasn't able to secure a takedown, right? And Jan was, right. So that's how the fight game goes sometimes. It's unfortunate, but needless to say, it was a very, very interesting scrap. All in all, a good scrap. So, next fight to talk about, Jessica Eyes versus Valentina Shevchenko. Woo-wee! This ended with a nasty knockout. Let me tell you, poor Jessica is probably feeling that still, unfortunately. Beautifully set up by Valentina Shevchenko. What a nasty fucking head kick that was. But that was another masterful display of Shevchenko's martial arts abilities. You know, like, don't sleep on Shevchenko. Shevchenko is a complete package fucking martial artist. And I don't say female martial artist, I mean like martial artist. She'll fuck up dudes. This chick is fucking dangerous. Woo! So dangerous. And the way she just set up, she landed 3 nasty body shots to Jessica in the first round, and Jessica brought that guard down. What did Shevchenko do in that second round? Brought that level of fucking leg up. Boom! It was vicious. Jessica's hands did not stop any of that. She took the full front of that kick. You know, your heart goes out to somebody that gets dropped like that. It was, like I said, it's probably one of the nastier knockouts that you can see in the UFC. She was on the floor for about like 2 minutes straight, feet curled in, shaking, hands all like clenched and stiff, right? It was terrible. All the best to Jessica Eyes and her family. I hope she recovers soon. You know what I mean? And hopefully we'll like to see her in the ring. Now, a couple of things I want to talk about is, it's one thing to have a superior confidence, but the way that Jessica kind of walked out, you know what I mean, and the way she was kind of standing in that ring, to me, as somebody who's fought before, when somebody starts peacocking around like that, it's because they're scared. I don't know why fighters peacock around like that. Fighters need to be humble and just handle their own business, right? Because let's be honest, the as soon as you signed up to go and fight somebody, you know what I mean? It's not like you're obviously intimidated by the other person. You're obviously aware of their skills and this and that, but like, I mean, what's the point of peacocking? Like I said, it's like we was ready to do a job. We was ready to bang, right? So I just don't get it. It kind of blows my mind that you come in chest all puffed up and just look like, you know what I mean, the supreme confidence. And it's good to have that belief in yourself, you know what I mean? But like, sometimes you need to I don't know, be a little bit graceful about it. I don't know. It's hard to say, right? Like I said, I just think Jessica was in deep with Shevchenko. Shevchenko is just an opponent that you can't be sleeping on, right? Let me see what notes here. Yeah, like I said, my first note right here is the peacocking that I saw from Jessica, right? Like I said, I just wasn't a big fan of it. I thought he was going to get into all kinds of trouble. Valentina Shevchenko, on the other hand, she looked cool, collective. Now, that to me as a fighter, that's the shit that fucking scares me. It was somebody just seems to be all fucking, when they've got their shit together and they're ready to go and do our business, that's when you know you're in for a fucking long night. You know what I mean? You're in for a good fucking scrap. Shevchenko, master fucking game plan. You can't be you can't take nothing away from her. She is just a tough lady. Set up that body kick. She hit Eyes with 3 nasty shots in the first round, and she was just able to capitalize and put the screws to her, right? Just Kate. Oh, Jessica, like I said, it was vicious. Poor Jessica just seemed outclassed, right? For as much of a run that she was on, she needs to get back to that gym and work on a few things. And hopefully we'll get to see Jessica again. Hopefully this KO isn't going to do too much damage, which there always is that possibility, right? So I'm sure we'll hear from her in the next couple of days, right? She'll put out a statement, right? And we'll find out. But that being said, fucking super excited for Valentina Shevchenko's next fight. She is top tier talent. The women's division is getting more and more exciting every time. I think things are starting to settle out. I think we're starting to have like some really top tier talent come in and start solidifying that the women's league, right? So it's great to see. I'm pumped about that division, and I can't wait for Shevchenko to get back into that ring. She is probably one of my most favorite fighters currently right now to watch. Now, that being said, we are also going to talk about 2 other of my favorite fighters. Another great match. It was Tony Ferguson versus Cowboy Donald Cerrone. Now, let me tell you guys, I was definitely pumped up for this fight. This fight was pretty much the biggest names in the lightweight division. Donald Cerrone is the man, the myth, the fucking legend. You gotta love this fucking dude. You gotta love how he fucking rolls, what he represents, his style. This dude's fucking nitty gritty. He's got like all the UFC records. The only thing that this man is missing is some UFC fucking gold. We need to see some gold on fucking Cerrone's waist. Let me tell you, it is a crying shame not to see. And, hopefully, after this tough loss against Tony Ferguson, we're going to be able to see Cerrone make one last final attempt. You know, I'd hate to say it, but I think after this, Cerrone's going to have some time. He's going to possibly retire, maybe. You never know, right? I mean, the dude's been in this game a really long time. 36-12 record. He won his last 11 fights coming into this too, right? You know, so it just sucks to take a loss like this, and you know, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think he was going to win this fight. He was getting outclassed, but it would have been nice to have gotten the opportunity to see the fight play out. Unfortunately, at the end of round two, Cerrone's nose was heavily compromised, and he made. Well, I'd be the first to tell you it was a fucking bonehead move by him, but at the same time, too, if you've ever had your nose busted and you're gasping for air and you're trying to breathe, it's a fucked up thing to have happen, because essentially you got all this blood at the bottom here, right, that's leaking from the top of the nasal cavity. Then you've got your nose that's like compromised. It's either off to the side, or it's like if it's off to the side, it's not as bad. But if the nose is broken and it's like crushed in, it's even fucking worse fucking feeling to have, right? Because like you get like this fucking, it's just even much more harder to breathe than if it was like broken sideways, right? I think his was like crushed on the inside, right? And it ended up creating like this gap of air in between here, right? And then it had this pool of blood that was just up in here, right? And this is why he was unable to breathe, right? Because all the blood was pooled up in there. And he went to go and blow his nose out. And unfortunately, when you blow your nose out, it cleans a little bit of this blood that's in here, and some of this blood will come down here. But unfortunately, what it does is it forces that blood back up in, and it goes right into the eye. And unfortunately, like literally within seconds, his whole eye closed and shut up. You know, like I said, I was in no delusions that Cerrone was winning this fight, because he definitely wasn't. Tony Ferguson was showing, well, what Tony Ferguson does, right? You know, just an amazing striker, a high work rate. The way this guy throws on angles, you know, like this guy is complete package, fucking scary motherfucker. I can't wait for him to fight for some gold again. You know, this man definitely needs some fucking gold. And you know, what can nothing. You know, nothing bad can be said about this fight, you know, other than the way that it stopped, right? You know, would have been great to see a conclusion to this, but Tony is just a fucking machine, you know. He comes in, he's lean, fucking is throwing some amazing elbows. The man can throw shots, right? The guy never looks fucking phased. He is just high motor, you know, great fucking ring generalship, right? The guy is just all in all complete package. One of the most exciting fighters on the fucking planet. I know MVP just lost recently, but I would just love to see a fight between Ferguson and MVP. I think stylistically wise, they both kind of offer this kind of like unorthodox approach, right? So it's very hard to read. I think it would be one of the most amazing fights to see, bar none, really. You know what I mean? That's the fight that I want to see as an MMA fan, first and foremost. Like I says, unfortunately for Cowboy, but hopefully he's gonna get back on that horse and fucking get himself a title. And definitely needs a title. I would hate to see him go out as somebody that's got all the records in the world, all the accolades, but just doesn't have that fucking gold, right? At this point, Donald Cerrone is the fucking Dan Marino of the fucking NFL. It's a little heartbreaking. But you never know. All right, last but not least, Henry Cejudo versus Morales. Oh my god. Let me tell you guys, Morales came out like a fucking beast in this one. Worked Cejudo in the first round. Cejudo looked gassed. He looked outclassed. He looked like he was going to be put away. But mark my words, this is probably one of the greatest comebacks in title defense history. Is because, whew, second round, he started to come around, right? You know, fucking Cejudo started to kind of pick up the pace. He looked like he was out of it most of that second round, but in the late second round, he started to fucking turn it on, right? He landed a nasty clinch knee that hurt Morales, right? And you know, he was working on the clinch game, right? Well, he was winning a little bit of the clinch game. Morales started to slow down in the third. He was gassed. He was a little bit bloodied, and then he got fucking KO'd. It was it was an amazing fight to see. I mean, like, Cejudo just shows you why he is like top level tier talent. The kid is, you know, he's a young kid too. He is going to be around in this league for a long, long time. The kid showed that he can fucking take a shot. You know, he's resilient. He's working with a full skill set. You know, he's champ right now, and I think he's looking to add a third one into the mix, right? So, you know, we need guys like Henry Cejudo. Hopefully, we're not gonna fucking find no PEDs or anything up in this fucking kid shit later on in the future. But as of right now, the UFC has got a very bright star in fucking Cejudo, and you know, Cejudo's still relatively young to this sport too, right? He's 15, or he's got 15 wins, 2 losses, and you know, he could still be in this league for another at least like 8 to 10 years, right? So mark my words, Henry Cejudo could be one of those fighters that we talk about for a really long time, you know, and I'm sure he's going to keep working on his stand-up game. We all know that he's got a great fucking ground game, right? And that stand-up game is going to improve more and more and more. You know, the kid is a workhorse, and it just shows you why he's the champ, right? Fucking dealt with Dillashaw with no problem. Dillashaw was on the PEDs and fucking no problems there, right? So, anyways, guys, thank you all so much for stopping on in here. The next show will be probably Saturday. We're going to be watching Bellator Friday night, right? So stick around, and we'll hope to see you guys back on this channel. Thank you all so much for stopping on in here and listening to me chit-chat a little bit about well, some of my passions. All right, y'all. Thank you. Mwah!